Introducing the reigning, defending, inside fighting host, Robby Sid Clark.
Hey, what's going on? How are you?
Good, buddy. Super excited for this one, man. I've been following your career forever, so I was and watching some of your comeback and some of it last night as well too, and it's just incredible to see. So this is it's a really fun one for me, man. I'm a big fan, so
I appreciate it, man. I'm excited to be on.
Thank you. So yeah, I've got a little makeshift setup here, and unfortunately, I'm actually down in Florida right now, so it's not the studio setup. But I didn't want to.
Are you in a Harley Davidson right now?
Buddy, yeah. So we got a place right now. We have a little games room here at the place we rented out. So it's got just a cool setup, and this is honestly the best room to do it where it's not going to be super noisy. And I was like, you know what, Harley Davidson that's definitely Weidman. So we're gonna.
I do have a Harley.
Set it up.
Thanks to my first fight with Anderson Silva, the UFC hooked it up. So
exactly right.
Yeah,
so like, you know what, this room's actually going to work for us. So, but yeah, man,
I love it.
Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, no problem. No problem.
So yeah, we'll get into it. So I'll just give you a quick little background, just so you know. I've I used to train back in the late '90s. I was a guy watching, VHSs of Frank Shamrock and stuff. So trained for about 4 or 5 years. At 15, I went to my first event in like 2002. So I've been not just a fan, but a bit of a student of the game as well too for like 20 years or so now.
Wow.
So I'm an original hardcore black belt on Sherdog. So I started this up. I don't know if you remember Inside Fighting, the media site from before.
Yeah, I remember hearing of it. I don't remember it too much, but I do remember it.
Yeah, they stopped producing like 7 years ago, and then I found the domain online, and then after a year we picked it up. So we're just rebuilding that and trying to do something with it now. So
where are you from, like Quebec or Vancouver or?
Yeah, I sound Canadian or?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm from Ontario. I was actually initially born in the States, but okay, close. I've never gotten French before, but yeah, no. So
what'd you say?
I've never gotten French before, but I'm from Ontario.
No, I don't think French. I'm going just straight. Yeah, I just named a couple. Yeah, no, let's go Vancouver. I'll go Vancouver. Yeah. That's not French, right?
Yeah, no. From Ontario, Canada. So I was born in the States, and then my mom got remarried to a Canadian when I was 5, and then we moved out to Canada and was raised there. So
cool, man. Nice. Yeah. I guess it made you a nicer person, so that's good. you look American, but you're a nice guy. So you're Canadian.
I act American. You say I go to Canada, I'm an American. I come here, I'm Canadian, right? So I can't win. I'm always a foreigner now.
You sound like you're good at hockey.
I'm not. I never got into it, right? So I might have, but I was baseball growing up, and then at 15, 16, I grew up in the entertainment industry. So I was doing mixed martial arts. So at like 15, and my agent was trying to wean me off because I was getting hit too much, and was training with Claude Patrick's been a trainer of mine for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
For a little bit. So
I know him. That's awesome. Nice.
Yeah, he's awesome. And so we still train a bit together, and then got a couple years when I was like 17, 19 with Eddie Bravo, who and Joe Rogan, who used to choke me out quite a bit.
Oh, awesome, man.
But he's a monster, to amateurs like me, right? So.
Oh no, he's a beast. Are you kidding me?
Definitely.
That's awesome. Wait, so what were you doing? You're an actor?
Well, I was an actor actually. So and did really well growing up, but then I wound up actually going I made like 7 figures and then went bankrupt at 21. And so then went back to go into the normal life and was serving tables, working at restaurants, and then actually, only had 6 credits in high school. So I started, financially educating myself around 23, 24 years old. And then started buying homes when I was 25. And since then, I built up a bunch of different companies, and I'm officially buying the most homes of anyone in Canada. So we're
buying the most homes of anyone in Canada. Are we talking about single family homes?
Yeah, mainly single family and multifamily residential. Like we had some.
We gotta talk. We gotta talk. I got the most in the United States, so we're pretty much on the same level. Yeah, I'm just getting into that. So I have 2 single family homes that I'm renting out inside Charlotte, and then I have
amazing.
I just got another. I like a vacational home that we're gonna be Airbnb and VRBO in like the mountains of Carolina. But we've been wanting to do multifamily units, but they just seem to be hard to find.
They are, and it depends where you are with the demo. We got incredible demographics in Canada with our immigrant. We have a huge supply and demand issue. So we'll have areas that are like 8 to 10% cap rate, but they're like 3% vacancy. So the supply isn't, the demand is massive out there. But I've been like Art Jones. So we go back, John's brother, and forth on Instagram a bit, and kind of helping him out with his first couple purchases in the rental market as well too. So that's been my, like I got a meal prep service and a couple other businesses. This is a total passion thing for me, because my goal when I was younger was like, one day I'm going to, be a part of the UFC somehow and get into this. So this is a different angle that, like, I've been asked to start business podcasts and things like that. And the first podcast I really do has been this one, right? So is fighting, because that's honestly, it's the only sport I follow, and huge fan of the sport, right? And I have it's a different level. I've been around a lot of athletes and things like that, but MMA is just a different world. And whenever I introduce people into it, they don't understand the multi disciplines and how much training you have to do. So, but yeah, no, real estate's my thing. So we're buying about 10, 15 properties a week. And then I've got a property management company that, manages in different cities. And I have the construction company, but we operate like developers. So we have like site supervisors, project managers, and we're running at about 70 sites at a time. But we're finding these.
Wait, so are you building new homes too? Or you're just buying pre-owned?
Most of them are most of them are, we're going to areas that are under the cost of build. So we're buying them under the cost of build, renovating them, and trying to, bring up the areas to the price of build. So we're doing a bit of both, not a lot of from the ground construction. And that's mainly because it takes so long. There's more value in buying existing inventory that's below the price of build, especially where we are. And I do.
And lumber and everything's up, right? Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, and we're like, I'm in Ontario is where we're doing like all of our purchases right now, but there's a big gap in some of the areas. Like I don't buy in Toronto or major metropolitans. It's in good cities that have good industries, but they've just not gotten the capital appreciation because we're cash flow investors, and that's the only way we can refinance them through the banks. But you can do the same. A lot of people do the same model in the States, so it's definitely you can replicate it here, because at the end of the day, with business, with real estate, a lot of people, buy in certain areas like, New York or things because they're like, oh, it's going to go up in value. But that's the risky part of it. Like if you're buying homes that are under the price of build, and you're making sure they look nice, you're not going to be a shitty slumlord, because it's one of our property management philosophies, getting rid of shitty slumlords, because you got to provide value. And we look at our clients, like our tenants as clients. They're paying you a ton of money every single month to live in them. They need new stuff. New stainless steel appliances, they need the plumbing fixed. You got to take care of them, right? And it just has to be looked at as like a revenue generating business that has margins as well too. So we go to these areas that again are below the cost of build for A, because of cash flow, but B, we also know that any environment that's below the cost of build is a recessionary environment. Like you can't have $75,000 homes in the States and then expect the economy to be good, because property taxes aren't going to be there. The homeowners are losing money. Everybody's losing money. So it's not that we're into speculating, because when you go to Toronto and New York, then you're going on speculation. Then it's now people are buying, $2,000 a square foot because they like to live in New York or Miami. The Miami prices are fucking crazy. But you go to Miami, it's different. But in these other more rural areas, and this is where, in the United States and Canada, the government is spending a lot of money to rebuild them, because they know there's no bigger industry in the world than real estate. It's a $350 trillion market. And you got manufacturing, which is 15 trillion, right? Yeah. So it's the driver of absolutely everything. So we do it from like a macro standpoint in a philosophical view, but we can definitely chat about that offline. But there's some great opportunities in the States as well too. And that's a big thing with athletes too, in stepping into that, learning the business side. Unbelievable opportunities, like what you could do with your name, but even just in real estate, because you guys are you make good money in short periods of time, right? And if you can invest that and turn that off and turn it into a revenue generating business, it's like, okay, well, what do I want to bring in a month? How do I do this and make sure it's profitable? It's unbelievable what you can do. And I'm sure because you've already bought a couple, you understand some of the tax advantages as well too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So my wife really, I'm not going to stand here and act like I did everything on my own. My wife really took it into her own hands, and she started educating herself. You ever hear of Bigger Pockets? Those guys, they have like a big real estate podcast, and then they have a company where they could basically you pay a certain amount and then you get like their calculator, and it helps you kind of like if you're just starting out, like figuring out like what's a good buy, what's not a good buy, and they've been super helpful for us.
That's amazing.
So yeah, my wife has utilized that a lot, and we got now 3 rentals, but they're not killing it or anything like that. I know it's just a step in the right direction. At least, I know that paralysis by analysis, like I didn't want that to happen. You start over, you start just, looking at everything and you just never pull the trigger. So we just pulled the trigger and I'm happy with it, happy to diversify. I see myself at the end of my career. I don't want to be, I don't see myself in working for a big business and, having bosses and stuff. I see myself kind of trying to be my own boss and getting into real estate. And I just think real estate is where it's at. I forgot the statistic, but like the majority of billionaires or the most millionaires, everybody, it's all through real estate.
Yeah, millionaire. Again, it's a lot of it's the biggest market in the world as well too. A lot of billionaires are mainly tech and public companies, but like, real estate creates more millionaires than everything. But
yeah, there you go.
But like you said, a lot of people are doing that some people are doing it with their own homes. You already have 3. That's the biggest thing I recommend is like start small and get started because, people paralysis by now. I got a lot of high income earners who are like, they need a job. They make a lot of money, but in 1 year they're done if they can't cover their overhead. And I see it a lot with athletes as well too. An athlete can have 10 million in the bank, but it's like, well, what's 10 million going to pay you in interest right now? If you have a lifestyle that's, $500,000 or $1 million a year, how long is that going to last? Right. And if you make the wrong moves, then they gamble on certain things, or they have the right intentions starting a business, but they don't have the right people there. It's been and I have that by far and away. I have successful businesses, but that by far and away has been the one that I've been able to run with and build a model. So man.
I'm thinking of a bunch of things right now. First of all, I definitely want to talk to you more off the air about this, but I just started a podcast too. I had my first episode that I recorded. It's going to be coming out this week with Anderson Silva. And the name of it is Won't Back Down with Chris Weidman. And the whole premise of it is, just talking to goal-oriented, successful people who've had setbacks and overcame them and their mindsets and stuff. And obviously just hearing from what you were saying in the beginning, how you started off with 7 figures, you're young and made mistakes and then had to basically start all over and you rebounded, obviously great. So I would love to hear that story on my podcast too.
I would love to too, man. It's funny. I had been asking a few weeks ago, we were talking, just one of the things, how he did it a little bit different, but he's just in real estate too. So he's definitely a smart guy. I mean, we are the same age and, wrestled together and he's big into crypto. He's definitely a smart guy. So I think whatever he decides to do, he's going to be great. Yeah, but he did real estate too. So I found out of his 5 wrestling academies or something, they own 2 of the buildings as well too. And he started early with life insurance policies because I was asking, he was pretty much retired before going into the UFC. Yeah. And his was a little different style because he wasn't still fighting. So I wanted to kind of get into that because I think it's a big thing. Eventually, like I've got 10 good questions here that, I mean, you're still in it, and I want to get after it. But it's eventually kind of want to lead to that where it's more of like kind of helping athletes and stuff with business and setting them up because it's something that's left out. And I see it now, right? And the biggest athletes in the world, you're around them, right? Like NFLers, everyone, and you're like, okay, NBA doesn't matter. There's still a big gap there, right? And it's just a topic, it's a subject. And athletes I love the most. So I do these rants sometimes with different entertainers as well, and rappers and things like that. But athletes, for the most part, are sober and clean, right? So they're very focused. So when they learn, I'm like, there's no bigger transition. I would have loved to have been an athlete, but I didn't make it in that realm. But when you apply that same focus to anything, business and real estate, anything, it's a topic, it's a subject like anything. And I'm sure you've spent time with Fertitta, as well too. That guy's incredible, right?
Oh my God, he was one of my biggest mentors. He was the guy I spoke to, and anytime I was around him, I was just always inspired.
Yeah.
Just a very smart businessman who, wasn't the big talker, wasn't, overly loud, but just everything he said came with like thought. And he was just an unbelievable guy to be around.
He's got to be like the coolest billionaire in the world. He's like, he's so smooth. He's jacked.
Smooth.
He's like,
good looking, jacked. I mean, unbelievable. Great family guy. He's got his life in order, physically, spiritually and mentally. So, I mean, you can't ask anything better than that.
No, man. Awesome. So we'll get into it, Chris. I mean, you started off there great. I love the podcast Won't Back Down. I was listening to the to the song by Tom Petty before doing this.
No, you weren't.
Yeah, I swear I was.
And to pump yourself up.
Yeah, well, I was looking in there because I mean, it's a true testament to what type of person you actually are, you know. And even beforehand, you were playing that song before people actually saw adversity. But what a lot of people don't know about champions is they face adversity. You know, people might not have seen it, but you for sure had adversity growing up. And this is kind of like the biggest turning point. I know you said you know, you had your darkest moment on your last fight when you went down, and you immediately went into this like really calm mode. And I saw both those other leg breaks in the UFC and outside of it, and you see people freak out, right? Like that's a crazy crazy thing to see and have experienced to you. So I wanted to, you know like, you know, your 23 surgeries, like you've had all this happen to you and everything. What is your mindset like right now, and does it give you satisfaction with the kind of videos and podcasts you've been doing, or so more the video releases on your injury, that knowing that you're really helping people out there go through whatever it doesn't necessarily have to be an injury, but seeing that other side of you as the greatest person in the world and that emotional side, where's your mindset at right now, and has that helped you putting that out there to the public?
Yeah, I mean, when I threw that kick and it hit, you know, I thought he was hurt. I was like, oh man, you can't take any more of those. I know. I looked at him in the eyes, and he looked like he was trying to like suck it up and give me the poker eyes. And then I put my foot down, and I'm like, what the heck? And I look down, I see my rubber leg, and I go, I cannot believe that was my leg. I hit the ground, and then man, right away it was just, I cannot believe this happened to me. 1, 2. There's going to be something that good. Right away it was trying to stay calm. I know there's not going to be doing any good screaming and yelling, so just stay calm. I was praying, I was singing to myself, just taking my mind off of it, and then like telling myself there has to be something good that comes out of this. It's okay. Something good's going to come out of this. I'm going to get through it. And this is as they're, you know, wobbling my leg around. The doctors are freaking out. They're, you know, they're realizing the bone is through the calf muscle and flopping. And I'm trying not to really listen to them and stay calm. And I've been through 23 surgeries. This was my 24th surgery. And I've had tons of setbacks, from injuries to all different types of things growing up. You know, I just know it always starts with a positive mindset, and just taking it day by day, and yeah, not overthinking anything negative, and being okay with anything that's going to come. You know, if they had to amputate my leg, I was like, you know, it's meant to be, and I'm going to be fine. Like, no matter what they could have told me, I was prepared for, and I was okay with. And so it allows you to just be a happier person. And I think that's kind of where I've been. No matter what's going on, I'm just going to get up in the morning and do my best. And it has been very hard. This has been like no other surgery I've ever experienced, no other injury I've ever experienced. Usually, no matter what it was, from my neck surgeries to my hand surgeries, and I've had some crazy ones, 10 knee surgeries, elbow surgeries, nose, eye, whatever. I've had it all, shoulder. No matter what it was like, you know, 3 or 4 days, you're in pain. You maybe need to take some painkillers, and then you start physical therapy, and, you know, work on mobility, and you deal with a little pain during that, but you're really, it's fine. You know, every day gets a little bit better. This one was way different, man. I came out of surgery, and right away it was so painful. And I, even obviously from the hospital, you know, from the ambulance to the hospital and waiting for the surgery, and that whole situation was a nightmare. And then waking up from surgery, and then for literally 4 or 5 weeks of torture, of not knowing if I'm going to be able to walk again. Every time I get up, the blood flow to the leg was just so brutally painful. It's honestly hard for me to even describe. And then all the stuff the doctors were telling me, you know, I had no feeling in my foot. We didn't know if that was going to come back, which that would end my career. We didn't know if I was going to get blood supply back to the bone, because it was such a traumatic hit. And tibia bones are the most likely bone not to get blood supply back to it in the body. And I've already had that happen to me one time in my hands, where my thumb, you see, I don't know if you could see, but the scar here, this is a completely fused thumb, because this part of my thumb, after my Gastelum fight, I tore a ligament in there, and there was a fracture. they go and do a surgery. It should have been like, I don't know, 12 weeks. I could have been back. And the blood supply never came back to the bone. So about 8 weeks after surgery, they realized that it wasn't healing and the bone was actually deteriorating because the shot was so concussive that the blood wasn't coming back. So they had to take out all the bone and take my hip bone and put it in there and replace it. So obviously that was in my head. All right, if that happened in my hand, I knew I kicked way harder than I ever kicked than I could ever punch. So I was like, all right, man, shit, if I get my blood back, that'd be great. But who the hell knows what's going to happen here? Tons of things could be going wrong here. Infections, the fibula bones, they never did anything to. So that's completely just still broken like this as we speak. So there's a lot of things going on that could be going wrong still. But my attitude is just walk forward and do my best every single day. The more I can endure as far as pain, I think is better for me. It will help heal it, more blood supply to the area. So I'm up on my feet as much as I can. I'm not using crutches. It's not super painful. I feel like based on what doctors said, they can't believe I'm doing what I'm doing right now. I played 18 holes of golf 7 weeks out. That was a couple of days ago. And none of this was planned. And at 6 weeks, I went to the gym and I hit pads and hit was like play sparring with one of the guys. This is all stuff I couldn't believe I'm doing, but I just know it's better to get out and get back to normal life. And whether I'm up on my feet for a minute or two and I have to lay down, whatever I could handle. But I just need to try to get on with my life as best as I can and not let any of this stuff get me down mentally.
Well, I'm sure, and not to touch on the injuries too much, but I think that's a really important lesson, like where you said you immediately, that's what shocked me, because I was watching that live and everyone was just, took the wind out of the room, right? Every room. And I think though, that's an incredible moment where you said like immediately you were focusing, you said you were praying, but you were focusing on the positive. When did you get that mindset to be like, because that's the big thing with adversity. People don't realize success, the great Lorenzo Fertitta said, success is here to here to here to here to here. It's not here to here. And that's what it takes to become a champion, a winner in anything, is to like, you're immediately going to a problem-solving situation. You're not down in those. When did you always have that mindset where something happened, you're like, no, go here? Or did that come into you over time?
First, when I hit the ground, I was so calm that Herb Dean thought I was out, unconscious. He's like, he's unconscious. And I just look up to him and I'm like, I'm not unconscious. And I put my head back down. I was like, bro, I was in a Zen state. It was funny. I think it's a product of how I grew up and the lessons I've learned from wrestling and tons of losses and hitting adversity over and over again. As in an individual sport, you can't blame anybody else when you lose. So you learn, and you get tons of injuries early on. You realize complaining and panicking or blaming, just none of that stuff helps. So I just, I got my ass beat a lot as a kid, and a lot of times, no one was home to be there to, for me to, cry on their shoulder, for anybody to feel bad for me. So I think, and I had a great upbringing, but in that aspect, it worked out for me because I think I got tough and I got a good mindset, but it was probably what most people would think is kind of crazy. Some of the things I had to endure, but it's created me. It created me. So I have no regrets. And just through life, you just learn not to panic. And I've been in very crazy, stressful situations, near-death experiences. And not that I'm Superman or anything like that, because I'm definitely not. I cry, I bleed. If I'm sick, I'm a little biatch, and my wife can't stand taking care of me because I'm complaining all the time. And she handles it way better than me. But when there's panic and there's everyone is freaking out, usually I'm pretty calm and can think a little bit more clearly than most people. I have a bunch of situations that happen with that.
That's funny. No, I'm the same. When I'm sick, my wife, same thing on this side. But
I can't act like I'm Mr. Tough Guy all the time. When I'm sick, like, you better be taking care of me. And most of the time, she doesn't feel bad for me at all. I'm like, you gotta be freaking kidding me.
Now, there's been so many fighters that came out. I remember seeing a post-fight interview with Anthony Smith right when it happened. And he was like, this guy, man, I don't understand how he's ever lost. Like, he's literally the best person I've ever trained with. And it's funny because people, fighters can compliment other fighters, especially if they like them. But this is something we heard from Georges St-Pierre a lot. There's two fighters that Georges St-Pierre has spoken incredibly highly of. And one of them, you've trained quite extensively with, and it was Stephen Thompson's striking, and it was you as a fighter. And you could see, I remember when he was at 170, still going to 185, and he meant it in the most complimentary way, but he used to do interviews and be like, yeah, I'm not going to 185. And he would speak so highly of your abilities. And does it give you confidence? I know you also said you had fighters messaging you, telling you the same thing, but you seem to be that one guy where everyone's like, I've never trained with a bigger animal in the room. And, George, obviously this guy is just a specimen, but he continues to tease. Even yesterday he did something with Freddie Roach where you're like, what are you coming back? And does that give you more confidence right now?
What did he tease?
Well, he's always kind of putting these little teasers out.
Oh, like he might be coming back.
Yeah,
Okay,
and, of course, we'd love to see it. And he's 40 now, and he's looks the same, if not.
Well, he just did that carnivore diet that I'm kind of carnivore-ish diet, animal-based diet. And he inspired me to go on it as well. So I'm doing that right now. And I feel great. I lost crazy weight, and it's great for inflammation. And it's completely different from anything that I've ever done or anybody's ever taught me. So giving it a shot.
Was that Rogan who inspired that as well too? Or
what's that?
Was that Joe Rogan who inspired?
So Rogan, I remember talking about it I remember him talking about this like 3 years ago. He had Jordan Peterson on, and then he had his daughter on, and they were just kind of going back and forth. Jordan Peterson feels like his life, completely changed when he started eating this way. And his daughter had an autoimmune disease, really bad one, where she could not get through a day, like I guess severe depression. And she needed to take Ritalin in order just to stay up for a couple hours. And she started this diet, and she's, I guess, never felt better and has no issues anymore. But so I remember hearing it, but, I'm like, that's crazy. No vegetables. You gotta be kidding me. And they make a pretty convincing argument for no vegetables, but I've never heard that before. Any nutritionist I ever had would look at them like they're crazy. So I just moved on. But then I'm stuck, my leg all banged up, and I see Georges St-Pierre on Instagram, and he's showing these pictures and videos of him eating the carnivore diet. And then he puts up a picture of himself looking super jacked, like more ripped than he's probably ever looked. And I was like, man, all right, I'm going to give this a shot. Let's go. And so the day before I decided this, my wife wanted to go on like a diet, and she was like, I'm looking up keto diet. We'll do keto. I'm like, all right, I'll do keto with you. I don't care. Why not? I'm not training for, anything right now. I'm just trying to stay healthy. So, and then I seen St-Pierre, and I was like, you know what? I want to get on something rigid, so a little bit more rigid. And so I started doing it, and I've been doing it for the past 8-9 days, and I feel amazing.
No vegetables. It's no
vegetables at all. So like, Paul Saladino is a doctor that's kind of helping. He helped St-Pierre, and he's helping me as well. And I guess like the whole philosophy is based on like research of, plants have been around for like 300. And I am no doctor. I have no idea what I'm talking about. I'm just going off of what I'm hearing. But plants have been around for like 350 million years. And in order to evolve, their main goal is to just, create more of themselves and not die off as a species. And they created like these toxins and like defense mechanisms to keep animals and other things from eating it, including us. So there is these toxins and chemicals, I guess, inside of vegetables, and that's like a proven thing. But I think a lot of people would say you could just wash it off. He's saying that's not true, and so he thinks a lot of the autoimmune diseases and a lot of issues that we have actually stem from plants. And vegetables and things like that. And I've done vegan before. You could sell me on both sides of the argument. So there was a guy who was on Rogan. I watched the Game Changers Netflix film that I forgot the guy's name who was on there, but he was an MMA guy actually. And it sounded good. I did vegan for a little bit, it felt all right. I do feel better like this. I hate eating vegetables to begin with. It was always like I was forcing it. And that was the other thing he says, like, there's a reason why we don't like vegetables is because they're not good for you. So yeah, I'm giving it a shot. 30 days. I'm going to be pretty serious with it. If anything, it stops me from drinking any alcohol at all for 30 days because that's out. So that's very healthy, especially when you're recovering from an injury like this. You shouldn't be drinking. Yeah. So far, so good. Lost a bunch of weight.
Yeah, that's crazy because I've looked at that and I went vegan for a year as well too. My wife and I were vegetarian for like 2.5. The bad vegetarian, like macaroni and cheese vegetarian, right?
Yeah, of course.
So but I've tried different things and wondered with it as well too. But yeah, I saw the same thing, George, and I'm like, what is it? This guy's just And obviously, you're looking ahead. Everybody wants to look like George, right? So
yeah.
Joe, everybody wants to have the energy and vitality of Joe, and
he's got Joe has all these different people that he gets to speak to. He speaks to like some of the smartest people in the world anytime he wants. So for him to like be buying into something, it's always like you got to take it kind of serious. The other thing is like the fat. It's as much fatty meat as possible, and you need to have the different organs of meat, like so liver and kidneys and brain and heart. Which I'm not a big fan of. So there's a pill form of that stuff you get in. And like the omega-3s and the amino acids, everything from the red meat is better than and is more nutritious than anything else on the planet.
Your energy's high.
And you don't need any vitamins. So I have all these great Thorne products that the UFC sends me. Supplement is a great supplement company. And he's like, bro, you don't need that. Just need some sunlight for vitamin D, and you need to eat as much fatty red meat as possible. And I'm eating, and you have fruit, it's basically anything animal product. I'm not doing any dairy during the strict 30 days, but afterwards I'm allowed to have dairy if I want.
Yeah, dairy's scary, so they say.
Yeah.
Man, that's great. I had a couple of things on here about nutrition, but that's.
I'm sorry. I'm like.
No, man. Listen.
What was your question? That just happened. Like I don't know. We got to George St. Pierre.
That's fine. No.
We were going with Anthony Smith stuff. I actually like that better. Let's go.
Yeah, no, Anthony Smith and all these fighters who have given you praise, not just now, but for years, about you being the best person in the training room, an absolute monster. And I was wondering if that helps give you confidence. Just in terms of you're shooting 18 holes 7 weeks out from your leg, flopping around is insane. Does that give you more confidence in your recovery and the fact that you might even want to get to a comeback, or if you get your leg back there, does that give you more confidence? And then, like I said, George being 40 years old and still looking phenomenal and teasing those comebacks, does that help you? Yeah,
I hearing Anthony Smith, him say that, I trained with him before this last fight for a little bit, and it was great training. And for him to come out and say that, especially a guy he's fought in my weight class, he's now a weight class above, and similar builds and stuff, for him to come out and say that is just such a humble thing for him to do, because most fighters, even if they get their ass beat in practice, if they're asked in an interview, they're like, oh, no, it was good training. We don't want to talk about training. You can't do that. We don't do that. But for him to actually come out and give me compliments like that, it really meant a lot to me. And when St. Pierre was giving me all those compliments back in the day, it was great for my confidence as well. There's sometimes that's my big issue, is like sometimes I get in my own head. I don't think I'm as good as what people think. And so when you hear other guys saying that, especially publicly, it helps me realize where I should be killing everybody.
Which is great. And the funny, a lot of fighters always say they're in the best shape of their life, but one of the things, because you were saying that leading up to the fight, but you stepped on the scales and like it was clear. And again, I've watched your entire career. You were clearly in the best shape of your life. You always look good, but you had stepped it up a notch or something. I don't know if it was a new environment in South Carolina, maybe, but you look to literally be in the best shape of your life, not just like some of the other fighters talk about. And with that, I want to jump ahead to the fights last week. Did you get a chance to watch Izzy and Marvin in the main event? And what were your thoughts on that one?
Okay, yeah. So going into this last fight, I moved to South Carolina in September, and since then I found a strength coach, this guy named Jed at Velocity out here. And I've never really been consistent with strength. It's just boring to me. I love competing. I love getting in the room, doing jiu-jitsu, wrestling, and sparring. That's fun to me. I never really eat healthy too much, I'm whatever, especially in the off season. But since I moved out here, I was a weight cleaner with my diet, and I never stopped strengthening and conditioning from September all the way till April. And that has never happened for me, and it paid off. I never felt better. My body, all the surgeries I've had, obviously I'm always kind of banged up. I felt amazing going to that fight, and in practice, whoever I'm going with, I was doing really well. Multiple guys at one time, taking turns on me, and I just felt so good, man. And there was a time when I was moving from New York to South Carolina, I was coming off a win from against the guy Omari Akhmedov, but I didn't look good in the fight. I felt crappy. I was tired. kind of took that fight just, to do it. It was during the COVID times. And I got like, even when I was champion, I kind of got in I kind of got away from working as hard as I used to. I was, with all the injuries, I would just try to do less as opposed to more. And it started really hurting me. I just, I feel like I was having losses because of that. I got in my own head. And it happened when I was champion and still winning. When I fought Vitor Belfort, I had positive reinforcement off of some bad habits. I took that fight. I mean, I started training for that fight at 6 weeks out. I used to do like 12 weeks. I took it at 6 weeks. I'm like, I'm be fine. And, it just, that led to like really, I think all my losses. Having that win was a bad thing for me because I wasn't training hard. I was trying to avoid doing any sparring. I was just like in less is more type of mindset. And that was never the way I was my whole life. And I would only be in the gym when it was training camp time. So and I'd still I would still do good in practice, and I'd expect to win in a fight, but I wasn't in great shape, and I wasn't as confident as I should be because I knew in the back of my mind I wasn't putting the work in that I really should be putting in. And when I moved out here, I think just being in a new environment, walking into new gyms, and being around new people, it really did like reinvigorate me. And I was like close to retiring in my head. I'm like, all right, I'll get like 2 or 3 fights in, I'll be done. And I didn't have like crazy goals in mind. But when I started training, when I moved out here, I stayed consistent. I just felt like I was back to how I used to be pre-fighting, for the belt. And I felt so good, man. And I was so excited to go on a run. I was like, you know what? There's no one who could beat me. There's really nobody in this middleweight division who could beat me. I don't even think anybody in the 205 pound class could beat me when I'm all in physically and mentally, like I was. I was just a completely different animal. And that's probably the most frustrating thing about this is to do everything right for the first time in a really long time and get into a fight and just break your leg in the first kick. It was just like, what the hell just happened? So now I got to get back in shape again. And my weight, that's a big thing. I keep my weight down. I used to get my weight at this point usually would be like 225, 230. Especially after a surgery. Right now, I'm literally 200 something pounds, 200.1 this morning. I'm on this diet. I was like 209 like a week and a half ago, but I've never been this low other than a fight week. So that feels great. That feels so great. I feel like I'm actually still in shape. I went to the gym. I did a full hour workout, first time since surgery. It was like 6 weeks out, and I wasn't gassed cardiovascularly. I was sore as hell afterwards, but like I didn't feel like my lungs were killing me. I didn't feel like I was going to have to go throw up. I was like, man, I'm still in shape because I kept my weight low. I'm eating healthy. I don't know. It's amazing. And I was in such good shape, I think, heading into that fight that my weight just doesn't even know how to go up. I was eating like shit after the surgery, and somehow my weight wouldn't go up past 210. And I'm usually 225, 230 easy. So it's all good stuff. And it makes me feel like a comeback is way better as long as my leg cooperates. I just know I have tons of potential. I've been blessed by God in so many ways, like physically and mentally. And I just want to give my best version of myself to the world. All these guys in practice who have practiced with me, they know how good I am. And they, like Anthony Smith said, he can't believe I even lost a fight, which is awesome to hear. But I want to be able to show that in the octagon so the world could see it. Like, right now, I won the belt 4 times. It's a great accomplishment, but I'm not up there with a John Jones or an Anderson Silva or, Khabib's. And I really feel like I have the potential to be in the discussion with those guys. So, and I know I'm turning 37 actually tomorrow, and I would think 37 felt different. So I think I still have it in me to really make a move here and create a different legacy for myself than people could imagine. And then to be able to inspire all these people that seen what I went through. That's such a huge drive for me. I've never had so much love and support after anything, any big loss or big win. That's why I'm documenting all this, because I want to keep people involved and let them know how I'm doing, and the ups and the downs. Try my best. We're gonna have documentaries coming out, and Yeah, I want to do it for them and like just be like, man, look, that guy was face down, his leg snapped in half, his leg is through his freaking skin, and not too long after he comes back and dominates and becomes a world champion. When nobody really would ever imagine that. That's how cool would that be? Make a movie. Get ready for a movie.
Yeah, you need your own Netflix special. Chris, do you have another 10 minutes by any chance?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good to go.
Appreciate it, man. Yeah, no,
as long as you want. I'm gonna work out right after we're done. I'm gonna go to the gym. I'm doing another MMA workout, baby. Let's go.
That's incredible. Yeah, no, you motivated me. I got to get into today too. So let's get
it. Let's get it.
Woo! Yeah, you keep answering the next question. One of them was going to be, what is your walk around weight? So that's great. But Izzy and Marvin, I did want to get your take on that fight. Like what your thoughts were. It's obviously a really exciting fight. Marvin is he got very little quit in him as well too. What were your thoughts on the title fight at 185?
I think it was a dominant fight by Adesanya. I think that he looked the best he's ever looked on the feet, and takedown defense. I watched their first fight a bunch of times because I had to do a breakdown for ESPN for Brett Akamoto. And in the first fight, it was very similar. Adesanya, I think, kind of dominated. He got taken down the last round, so he lost the last round. But Adesanya looked great on the feet, but he looked even better this time. Vettori, I would have thought he would have got better at some takedowns. And I know he's not a wrestler, but there were some situations that he was in the first fight where he was in a clinch position a few times, and he couldn't figure out how to take him down. And I said to myself, I go, you know what? If he's seen this last fight and he goes, all right, it's that easy to get to the clinch on this guy, he's better. I'm hoping he worked on some different offensive techniques to get him down. And like, he has a couple go-to moves that he's confident with, because it's not that hard for him to get to the clinch. And before you know it, in that second fight, he gets to the clinch multiple times and he still can't figure out how to get it to the ground. And he's bigger, he's stronger, which is a big deal when it comes to wrestling. You could see he sucks in his lower back easy. Once you do that, it's a takedown, bro. Like if I'm doing it or a good wrestler is doing it, that's a takedown. And so I was upset that I don't think put the effort in the right areas, because if he would have, I think he would have got to the floor pretty easy. And then we would have had a better fight. I wasn't rooting against Adesanya at all. I just wanted to see as good of a fight as possible, the best techniques being displayed. And I think Vettori could have made it closer with some more homework. He's tough. He's got that left hand, but he's too short and he doesn't have the reach to be able to go toe to toe on the feet with Adesanya. He's not fast enough. And he had to get it to the ground. And he didn't. I don't think he gave himself the best. I don't think he gave himself the best chance to be able to do that. And the thing is, like, if you're not a wrestler, if you're not putting your time in there for a long time, it's hard to just do that for a fight. But he is more well-rounded than a lot of these other guys. So I was hoping that it would be closer, but he wasn't able to do it. And Adesanya looked great, man. And I'm super excited about Whitaker-Gastelum fight. I'm sorry, Whitaker and Adesanya fight.
Yeah.
Because Whitaker looked amazing in his last fight against Gastelum. Amazing. Did you see that fight?
Yeah, I did. It was incredible. Like, I was expecting a closer, because Gastelum doesn't make it easy on anybody. You've never had any. Well, actually, you submitted him, but it's really the last time he got stopped there. But he was next level. I gotta say, Whitaker, like, his confidence after those last two wins and then going into that fight, I don't know. It was something. That's the best he's ever looked by far. And he's not a tall guy. He's not a big middleweight. So, coming up from 170 initially, that was by far the most impressive win he's ever done, in my opinion. If you know the sport and follow the fighter.
He just looked quick. The way he was throwing his combinations to his high kicks were unbelievable. The way he was able to tame Kelvin Gastelum's left hand in that fight was spectacular. You don't really see that. He wasn't afraid of it. He was just very prepared for it. And he stayed very, very relaxed in those situations when you've seen Kelvin really starting to wind up that overhand left. And I've been tagged by that. That dude, he's not that biggest. He's not the strongest. But that left hand, he has he's pretty accurate with it, and it has power. So you have to really be prepared for that. And Whitaker, man, I was blown away by that. I loved it. It's going to be, I think his biggest struggle into this fight is whether how much wrestling versus stand-up, because I do think his stand-up can match Adesanya, to be honest. His style, his last fight when they fought, I don't think like when he was swinging like a madman, that just wasn't him. He was like, there was too much pressure on him. And to be honest, he was just like, I don't know, he was too tense. The way he fought this last fight with Kelvin Gastelum, if he fights that way against Adesanya, I don't think he really needs to wrestle too much. And because then he might strain himself trying to like dig for something that he's not comfortable doing. I know he's been working on wrestling a lot, but still to be able to do that in a fight, especially a 5-round fight, get stopped a couple of times, or even if you do get the takedown, it's a different lactic acid that starts filling up in your muscles. Then you back up on your feet, and it's just a different feeling. If you're not used to that mentally and physically, it's hard to adjust for. But yeah, I'm very excited. I think that's what I think his biggest thing is going to be is his game plan. What's going to be his game plan, and is he going to confuse himself? Because that's happened to me a bunch of times. I have different options. Like my guy, I know I can stand with this guy. I know I could beat him standing, so that's easy. Let's just do that. Or do I take him down? And I could do that pretty easily too. And then I don't know. It just sometimes there's too many options. It's not a good option. Is not the best.
Yeah, and he's like Whitaker's like a consummate underdog. It seems like too. They just put him against these monsters, and he was a favorite against Yoel. But you're always like, this is gonna be a tough fight. I think part of that is because he's not a big guy either. But Kelvin is one of those guys that he's so hard to look good against because he's almost got like a Cormier where he's deceptively quick, right? And you see him get in, you're like, whoa, where did that come from, right?
Yeah.
And then his wrestling is good. Like I think you said Marvin. Marvin is like, he came in, looked bigger for the fight. But one of the things there was that the difference you see with guys like yourself and them, not discredit to them, but guys who have a significant wrestling background is your ability to chain wrestle, right? Like that's where, Connor looked great for a little bit in the second fight in his takedown defense against our first fight against Khabib, sorry. But it's that chain wrestling where it's like they can stop the first movement, but unless you're a wrestler, how do you stop the second and the third? And that's where, like you said, I think when he got him against the fence, that might have been the ability to chain wrestle makes a huge difference because you got to train those over time. And like, it takes time. We saw Maya in the last fight go for 100 million takedowns, right? And it was that same single leg.
I missed that fight. I missed it. I love Damian. And Bilal's awesome too, but I didn't get to see it. I was at a 40-year-old birthday party, but I caught the Vittori fight, obviously, in Adesanya. I was watching that on my phone.
It was a great card. A lot of decisions, but it was a great card, long card. So, but no, you're right, man. I'm super excited for the Whittaker. So many things at 185, but it's fun. There's still like
and that chain. I'm sorry to interject, but that chain wrestling that you talk about, it's not even just the technique. It's what happens is like Khabib's on his leg and Conor was doing a great job stuffing it, and he's confident that then all of a sudden there's a different move that he has to defend. And like the mindset is really like, man, the energy consumption is in your head too. Like, all right, I'm going to give everything I have to stop this next move. But what if he's better than me there? Am I just wasting my energy trying to fight this? Do I just give it up? The mind tricks. And then when you're having when your mind is all foggy and you can't figure out which way to go, and if you should really push everything you have in this situation or not, are you wasting your energy or not? That exhausts you. So there's so much like mental exhaustion that's going on when you start having that chain wrestling with a guy who is not really been doing that for years.
And do you find those little wins there? Like you'll see sometimes a guy he can be tired and he hits the guy and he gets this adrenaline rush. And, that's why they're like, oh, you got to focus yourself. Do you find the same thing? Do you have that happen? Because it's not always the guys will be in great shape and sometimes they look tired, but it's more of a mental thing in there. Is that a big thing in the fight game? Like if you're hitting takedown, like you hit your first takedown and you're like, oh, that was easy. It gives you a little more of a boost and it takes something away from the other fighter. Do you see that a lot? And that's how you guys are able to see momentum shifts in fights?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I honestly, it's all freaking mental. This game is all mental. I think 99% of the time, the more confident person is going to win the fight. And it's not the person who's pretending to be confident or, it's truly, truly confident person. And when you have two guys that are truly, truly, truly confident in themselves, that's when you have those crazy, spectacular fights. Neither guy's going to back down. There's no quitting either guy because they're like, I'm winning this fight. There's no way I'm losing. So it's really everything is just about confidence, man. And just like it crosses over, just like you were saying before, it crosses over to business. It crosses over to freaking every walk of life. It all correlates. There's no like, oh, I don't know what an athlete goes through, but you do. It's just in a different walk of life. It's the same stuff.
100%. I truly believe that any champion athlete, anybody who makes the big leagues in general, but any champion athlete can be a champion in business as well too, and easier because there's a saying I like where it's like, if you go 2 for 10, athletics is much more difficult because if you go 2 for 10, you're never making the big leagues. You go 3 for 10, you're an all-star, right? And
Yeah. Oh yeah.
you really only got to be right once. It's not that you want to fail a bunch of times, but you can try again. There's different areas, as long as you figure out the right combination of what you're doing and then educate yourself in that. And there's a thing with momentum and like you see the UFC, that's an incredible example of like, hey, they bought the company, I think for 2.8 million and they dumped a bunch of money in, of course, right? But it was really perseverance. And then you have these weird things that happen that allow them to get to that next level. And then they hit a roadblock. And then like you said, you felt greater than ever. And then you hit obviously the biggest roadblock, perception wise on the outside of your life.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And then, but as you keep digging, it's your biggest failures often lead to your greatest successes, right? Like almost always that's how it is. You got to get that last huge failure and then boom, and then something happens from there. But you're absolutely right when you say that it crosses over into every single industry. And I don't think people realize that. So it's a good reason you brought that up. Now, I wanted to ask a couple more quickly on your diet. I know you got into it there, the carnivore diet. So I'm gonna track that and see how you feel that on your page. What was your diet leading up to the fight? Because you looked incredible, like I said, on the scales there. What was your like a breakfast, lunch, and dinner leading up to your last fight?
Well, the week before it gets a little bit more strict, but pretty much during training camp, it was eggs every single morning, maybe with some fruit, avocado. I usually like 4 eggs over easy or 5 eggs over easy with some maybe a side of half avocado or a full avocado or no avocado, a little bit of ketchup, a little bit of hot sauce, and a piece of toast, especially if I have a hard workout, I get a little carbs. I every once in a while I do oatmeal with fruit. Like I love bananas and different blackberries and blueberries and all that stuff in there. So that's usually my breakfast if I don't fast. Sometimes I fast. If I have an early workout, I like fasting too. I am intermittent fast, and I'm like the true definition of intermittent fasting because I do it every once in a while. Only, especially if I have a big dinner the night before, I'm not going to eat probably till like 1 or 2. It might be after the first workout, or even the second workout. So I kind of just listen to my body, and sometimes I decide to do that. And I feel great doing that. Just mix it up. So for lunch, it was usually like a salad with, especially when I'm bringing down my weight, I'll do a salad with like I love goat cheese, balsamic vinegar, goat cheese, different fruit and stuff in it. Like I'll do a sandwich, like a healthy sandwich. Everything's usually, I don't like anything processed. And then for dinner, usually whatever my wife makes. And she usually cooks pretty clean, and that's just like a variation of, protein, vegetables, and like was it like a starch or something, or carbs. And that's it. If I'm starving at night, I'll take a spoonful of peanut butter or almond butter and take it down. And sometimes I'll cheat and put it on a banana. And that's pretty much it. I kind of like a well-balanced meals throughout the day of everything is kind of what I've always done. Just like eat healthy. Yeah.
And you don't, like a lot of fighters, they're all different, right? But we'll count the calories, everything. I know George just kind of listens to his body, and I always, felt like that's a good way. Your body knows, because you don't necessarily know how many calories you burn. So you do the same philosophy. You listen to your body and what you want to eat and not.
Yeah, I never want to be hungry. I never count calories. I have no idea. It doesn't bother me how many calories, as long as the food's healthy. Don't care. I'm working out as well. So it doesn't matter. I just try to eat healthy and I just kind of gave the breakdown of what healthy to me usually was pre this diet. I felt great and I was ready to go.
Thanks, man. Okay. I got a couple more. What is top 3 favorite middleweights you enjoy watching right now? I think we touched on a couple of them.
So Adesanya, as much as I want to fight him, I love watching his stand up. I try to emulate a lot of the stuff he does. From watching him hit pads to, watching some of his fights. I love his feints that he does. He's got great feints. Who else do I like? Middleweight. I appreciate Jack Hermansson's his guillotine that he does, the head and arm like from the side guillotine. I forgot the name of that exactly. It's like a head and arm guillotine from the side. I appreciate his confidence with that and the way he gets that together and crushes guys. He's beat some legit black belts with that. Kelvin Gastelum, I'm always a fan of that kid. He's got so much heart. He never stops moving forward. He's always, moving his head, and he's got great poker face no matter what situation he's in. He's always, doing the hand wave, and he's good no matter what he gets crushed with. So I appreciate his mental tenacity, if you will. Just no matter what hits him, he's not going to let you know it bothers him, and he's going to keep coming forward, cool, calm, and collected. And I love that about him. Anderson Silva was always my favorite. Like, Anderson Silva is very similar to Adesanya on the feet. I love watching them on the feet, and I try to utilize a lot of their stuff when I'm training. The switching of stances, the different, the diversity of the strikes. I think the more tools that you have, the better. You never know, against who, it's going to work against. Every guy. Like, for me, whether it's sparring or in a fight, I kind of figure out what makes that guy feel most uncomfortable, and then I try to stick with that. Whether it's me going southpaw, whether it's me bouncing like Wonder Boy, or coming with my hands up and walking them down. Kind of just everybody's different. So if you're just concentrating on one martial art or one style, you are going to hurt yourself, because at one point the guy's going to feel very comfortable with that style, and you're going to have nowhere to go. You have no other options.
Yeah, Wonder Boy's got a hell of a fight coming up against Gilbert. He's amazing. He just seems like I met him once at an event. Just the nicest guy. Really good looking. Wouldn't leave my wife alone too long with him. But no, he's such a like. Just seems like the nicest guy, and incredible at what he does, and still at the top of his game. And he's 37, 38.
He's older than me. No, he's freaking. The guy's almost 40. He's 38, 39.
He looked better than ever in his last fight.
Yes, so. He's unbelievable. No matter what that kid is going through, you'll never know. Like, if he's just always happy. He's a little kid. He is the definition of what a little kid is. Like, like my 5-year-old, he's such a happy-go-lucky kid, and I never want him to change. That's like Wonder Boy. He's just never changed. He's that 5-year-old happy-go-lucky kid that no matter what's going on, he's just so happy, no matter what. I love it. Like, if you're ever down or whatever, you give him a call. He's clueless about what it's like to be like down.
Yeah.
So, he's around little kids all day long. He teaches karate all day long. He's not complaining. He's doing things that professional athletes can't even imagine doing, teaching those all day long, and then working out for himself afterwards. And before. So he really is the definition of a great mindset of happiness.
So consistent too. Yeah.
Oh my God. So consistent. Yeah. Anytime I call him, he's like, yeah, let's go. He's just always so loud and happy. Always gets me to smile. So I love the guy. Obviously he's like a brother to me. So yeah.
That's amazing. And now,
I like Gilbert Burns, but I do think it's a tough undertaking for him.
Yeah, and Gilbert's tough though. He's one of those guys too. He's very quick, and just like he's like one of those guys that you're gonna break your hand hitting him in the head. You know what I mean? Like it's not gonna be. I don't know. It's a great fight. I have a lot of respect for him too. He's looked incredible at welterweight, and even his fight with Usman, you could tell like Usman took him out. But that was a tough fight. Like early. I mean, I think he's always dangerous, but he just. Yeah, I don't know who to compare him to, but he looks like a tough fight no matter what.
Yeah, no, he's tough. I think he's going to have a problem with trying to figure out which direction to go with in this fight. He's had success with his hands. I know he got knocked out, I think, his last fight. So coming into a fight against Wonder Boy makes everyone like, if you're not used to training with him, if you've never had anybody like that in front of you, which I guarantee you haven't, because there's no one really like him. When you're on your feet with him, it's a very scary thing. He could close distance like any given moment. His stance is very deceptive with the range. It's hard to just it's very different. You can't just come in like this and then just start crushing him. You watch him with Jorge Masvidal, you watch him with Vicente Luque, you watch him with Jeff Neal. These are all great strikers, but they got that plodding heavy hand strikes. And you see what Wonder Boy does to them, those guys. It's just, he just picks them apart. There's just, his style is just so hard to deal with, and he's so good at it. So I'm curious on Gilbert Burns because I don't think he's got the best wrestling. He's more of a jiu-jitsu guy, but he has heavy hands. So now is he going to just try to go out there and strike with Wonderboy and try to take his head off, or is he going to be rushing him for takedowns? Either way, it's a really scary situation for him because on his feet, when he's going to take him down, there's just so much stuff he's possibly could be running into. And then even trying to take him down, the energy expenditure that he's going to have to put out is insane. And if he doesn't get him down, if he doesn't, or even if he does, once they are back to the feet, Wonderboy, no matter how many times I've taken him down, and he'll be the first one to say it. So I'll just say, like, I've taken him down a lot, no matter what. When he gets back to his feet, and I think I have him exhausted. I'm ragdolling him. I'm all over him. I'm trying to pull him down to the mat 1,000 times. He's laughing, but he's tired. He gets back to his feet. He's still bouncing like he was in the first round. He's still just as quick with his hands. It's insane. He is that kid is unbreakable. He really is unbreakable. It's because his attitude. He's just so happy. Even fight, he doesn't get it. I'm like, bro, you're supposed to be tired. You're supposed to you're just supposed to give up now. It's like, what do you mean? He's like, he's so good. He high-fived me and we're just going. He's, jabbing me in my mouth, crushing me with crosses. And I'm like, he's great. Like, I have in the room, especially, like, if I'm sparring with guys, they don't like to spar with me too many times. Wonderboy, he has no issue with it. I can't get him to not want to spar with me. And my goal is always to just make people not want to spar with me, because that means I'm working as hard as I possibly can and doing the best I can. Just Wonderboy just doesn't stop.
He's got all the 5-year-olds he's around all the time too. And it'd be terrifying to get to, have that guy, someone so pretty, knocking you out on the other side of the ring and just,
and then helping you up. Oh, sorry, man. You okay?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's him.
No, I'm super excited for that fight, but I think Gilbert's got to try his only shot. Shouldn't say his only shot. Everybody's incredible in there, but I would assume he's going to try to close the distance and throw some bombs, because he's not easy to take down. Like you said, he's training with you. And this is one thing that George said about him, right? Is it like when you could tell when he first got introduced, it was you two guys, are the two guys he brings up. When he first got introduced to Stephen Thompson striking, he's like, this guy's on another level. I don't, and with you as a fighter, you always, it's just like, you can tell you're grappling and everything. He was just the two people he's spoken the most highly of throughout his career has been you and Stephen Thompson. So
yeah, and it's an honor for both me and Stephen to have any type of positive things said to us by who I think is probably the greatest of all time in our sport. So that's amazing.
Go. Last question I wanted for you here. So you do a lot of champions do visualization. I know you do sometimes as well. And I wanted to know right now where you stand. What is Chris's visions now? On your recovery and a potential UFC return? What's an ideal situation for you? Have you even set up hey, I've got 18 months. I would love to just get back in the octagon again. Have you started having any of those thoughts, or where are you at with that?
No, I'm not setting a certain time for myself. Okay, I got to be in the octagon by then. I'm going to listen to my body. I'm going to take day by day. I'm going to push myself every single day. Every week there's goals. But as far as long-term goals with my leg, I'm going to let my body tell me. And I'm not there to the point where I could be like, okay, I'm good now. All right, let's start training for a fight and I'll be good in 3 months. I'm not there yet. So yeah, I can't tell you. I just know if I could get back to the point where I was, and I'm trying to give myself every opportunity to do that, control everything I can control. I plan on coming back and winning a world championship and just, blowing people's minds.
That's
inspiring as many people as I can, and then, I'm 37. I'm not trying to do this for the rest of my life. Obviously there's a time it ends, but I want to end off, with a bang. And, with all the people saying all these great things about me in the practice room and that's it's great, but I want to end off by showing the world that, and I want the world to realize how good I am.
Well, I think, the world does, but I know your standpoint, man, everybody in the world is cheering for you to get back there. Like I said, it took the breath out of every room across the world when that happened. But at the same time, what you've been doing afterwards in the videos, people have seen you in a different light now, and it's connected them, I think, even closer as well too. And I know when you come back, it's going to be a massive fight. And I know it's going to mean a lot to you, but it's going to mean a lot to everybody there. I'm definitely going to be there. And just want to say everybody's rooting for you. You know, you're all American, but you're Captain America as well too, right? So it's
Thank you.
It's cool to watch this, and like you said, the things you're doing now, you've got a new podcast going out and things you've not stopped, and it's just awesome to see, man. And you're a true testament. You're a true Tom Petty. And it's to see these things that you're doing and stuff, and the comeback. And I know it's going to happen because just your mindset and what you've done, man. So I'm excited for you, and yeah, I'm pumped. I'm gonna get this workout in after this, and
oh yeah, let's kill it. Let's get this workout in, baby. Let's crush it. I really appreciate you having me on, and I'd love to talk to you more. I gotta get your number or something, if you don't mind, and we could talk real estate and whatever else.
Absolutely, man.
Come out and train one of these days.
I would come anytime and let you guys beat me up. That's I have no issues with that whatsoever. So I'll shoot you my number here on the chat right now. But honestly, add me on Instagram whenever. I'm always available to you, man. So you let me know, and
I'm gonna shoot my number too, because I'm not as responsible as you, and I'm gonna rush right out of here and get right to the gym. I'm gonna be super focused, so I'll forget. So text me when you get a chance.
Absolutely, man. Any questions on real estate or anything? I'm there to help, and seriously appreciate this interview. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you. And one thing I realized since I have my own podcast, I just film my own, is that you do a great job of, when I'm talking, not saying yeah or like agreeing with me or anything like that. When I just film with Anderson Silva, holy smokes, I want to rip out my vocal cords, because I'm like, I cannot believe it, because I'm just used to doing that, I guess, in normal conversation. Like, yeah. You know, as they're talking. Was that something that you did on purpose, or was that just
intentionally? I'm trying to stay still. It's very difficult for me because I talk way too much, and you know, my wife told me on our first interview I was doing, she's like, you need to shut up a little bit more, and I was like, hey, you're probably right. But
I know.
My
wife too.
I watch a couple of Ariel, the GOAT of interviewing there. In terms of, you know, they come from an educated background in media studies. So what they do really hard is they really focus in and really just try to shut up. That's what I do. And I try to absorb it and listen, right? Because I'm speaking to a GOAT. So I want to hear what you're saying as well too. And so, yeah, it does take a little bit for sure, just to try and pull back. Because at the end of the day, I'm, you know, interviewing you. People want to hear from you. They don't want to hear from me about this. So I try to, it's a little different too. Your podcast style, people want to hear from you. So I think that's kind of, you know,
I could just say, no, but for me, it wasn't a matter of me talking every once in a while. It was a matter of, while he was talking, me saying, like, in between his sentences, I don't know if it was because of his language barrier or just because that's just me in conversations. I don't know, because I'm the one being interviewed. But when he was talking, I'm like, yeah. Oh, yeah. Like, almost like I agree with everything he's saying and helping him move on to the next thing. Oh my gosh, was it annoying to hear? And yeah, so I'm excited to get better and make sure I shut up. And my wife told me the same thing. And it's funny, I sent him some clips, and that was the first thing he said to me too. He goes, bro, I know this is new for you, but please just shut up when they're talking. I'm like, I know. He was like, it's not like a phone conversation, because I talk to Ariel all the time. He's like, bro, like, and he was doing it to me. I'm in the middle of talking. He's like agreeing with me and saying things while I'm talking. I'm like, see, this is what I'm used to doing. You just kind of like, that's the conversation. But now I've learned. I've learned the hard way, and I'm probably gonna get crushed for it when it goes live. People are gonna be like, "Can this guy shut the fuck up?" But
I think it's different in conversation too. In normal conversation, it happens more. But like, even in acting, you can't even when they never fumble over lines. So you can't, if somebody else is speaking, you can't go over. Otherwise, you're gonna have to do that in ADR. You're gonna have to do that at take again, or you're gonna do it in the studios afterwards. So it comes across differently on camera. If you're having a normal conversation, it's almost, you know, part of the psychology and agree. You want someone to know you're agreeing. So I think you're absolutely right. It's something that I'm definitely cognizant of when I'm doing it now, just because, for that reason.
When I was cognizant, when I was talking, I was cognizant of you doing it as well, because I'm like, look at this guy. He's staying smooth, not making any of those noises. Good job, man.
Appreciate it so much, man. All right. I look forward to getting my ass kicked by you, and thank you so much for your time, man.
Yep. No problem, man. Have a great day. Crush that workout. Let's go.
Thank you.